Hello, Deborah. Welcome to the show. It's so nice to have you here. I was immediately attracted to your energy and your essence and everything when we first met, and I'm so glad to have you here. I know you are an author, a speaker, a teacher, and a grief guide, and you have a beautiful website called Big Life Magic, which just excites everybody. Who isn't interested in big life magic? So, thank you for being here. And if you'd like to share a little bit about you and your big life magic that you're doing in the world.
Thank you. My pleasure. What a delight to be here with you. We're fast and new friends. We've only recently connected, but we obviously connected in that way that sometimes souls do, where they go, "Oh, I like you. Let's hang out for a little while." And so that is what's, the energy that's brought us together that I hope also inspires the people listening today. So
Mhm.
as shared, my name's Deb D. Well, my name's Debra Driscoll, but everyone in my community calls me Deb D. And my North Star is supporting people in aligning and then activating the magic that they have within.
Mm.
They can skip and shift and change and make their way to what their version of big life magic is. That
Nice.
would be my North Star, the reason I wake up in the day, however people want to say it. That's what I'm really about. Everyone's magical, and I want everyone to know it and to own it.
That's incredible. I know that you have on your website a pathway from your big life loss to your big life magic. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that we are all in the pursuit of big life magic. Like we're all here, earthbound, connected to our souls on this mission. What are we going to do? We've got lessons, all of it. That's what I call big life magic. And I also believe we will all meet at least one big life loss. And it's soul designed. So I say in your big life loss of your human experience, you're going to have one of the 4 Ds, at least one. Most people I meet have more than one. And those 4 Ds of your big life loss are death, divorce, diagnosis, or the dream that doesn't come true. You
Mm.
meet a human with a beating heart and they've had an experience of at least one of those Ds.
That's so interesting because do you know who Gina DeVee is?
No.
So she says you're either in the school of money, school of health, or school of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
She really does say that. So that's so interesting. So death, divorce, diagnosis, and dream that didn't come
Yeah,
true.
so
Like
we meet these,
appointment.
we meet these big life losses, and then that is actually the opening of a big opportunity for us, for
Mm.
ourselves, earthbound, and also our spiritual soul selves. So for me personally, I've had more than one big life loss. I think we all have. But the biggest life loss, and I believe that in this lifetime for me, it is going to be the big life loss. 10 years ago, my son, Sage Joseph, unexpectedly died. He was 1 month before his 11th birthday. We had planned the birthday party, Linda. It was
Mm.
going to be an Iron Man birthday party. We knew exactly what was going on. He had the costume. We were excited. We're 1 month out of my little boy turning 11.
Mm.
And one morning I woke and he didn't.
Oh, Jesus.
Now, there wasn't any condition. It was not expected. There was nothing on the outside that told the story of why. I said good night. And then the next morning, it was the forever goodbye. And that is my big life loss.
Absolutely.
And when I met that big life loss, I had already been working in spiritual practice and healing modalities and teaching and writing and sharing stories for, close to 20 years. So there was a lot that I believed.
Mm.
And then this big life loss challenged everything.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And what happened, and it happened quite quickly. It happened within 3 days. I was like, okay, all right, life. Okay, universe, angels, guides, everyone, my soul. I see what you're bringing here. I'm going to meet you at that table. And I'm going to bring my curiosity, and I'm going to bring everything I know about spiritual practice. I'm going to bring everything I know about healing. And I'm going to say yes to this and find a way forward, because I was curious about this. Everything I know about spiritual practice and healing our human hearts and why we are here. Is it going to be enough? I didn't know, Linda. I didn't know, but I was really curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it set me forward on discovery from my big life loss through many chapters, different countries around the world, different teachers, experiences when I was on the path, experiences when I was stumbling off the path, experiences when I was learning deep lessons, experiences where I was in denial of all of the lessons, all of it.
What did the doctors say though? Was there an autopsy? Did he have an underlying heart condition or something? I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. This is a part of the human curiosity too.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened?
Yeah, no, like you hear it about like babies, you'll hear that, or an athlete that's 18, 20 or something where they had an underlying heart, but like a 10, 11-year-old, I just, yeah, I don't understand. And then one of the other questions that came to mind is that being that you were so spiritual, then you must have known that his physical body left, but he didn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you
So
knew.
this is also like, I mean, these are two major themes in my journey. So let me share both of them, because they're great questions. And sometimes they're the question that we feel like we're not allowed to ask, but like, what actually happened? And how did your beliefs transform, change, what stayed the same? So in terms of Sage's physical body, as shared on the outside, everything looked normal. He was just gone. The light in his eyes was gone. He had obviously died hours before I went to go and wake him and found him dead in the bed. There was an autopsy, and I wait somewhere between 24 to 48 hours, because they sped it up, because there's this little boy who's now unexpectedly dead. So we're not only in this curious, like to the police, this is a crime scene until they know what's happened. There's police involved taking photos. I mean, it's
Big deal. Huge.
It's a big deal. And I was with them. I was like, yeah, let's figure out what has happened to my son. And then when the coroner's office called back, they said to me, unfortunately, we have found nothing. And I was like, what? I thought you were going to find a brain bleed, or I thought you were going to find, an underlying heart condition, or I thought you were going to find something in some organ that tells the story of why. And I found nothing. And the woman, I still remember her name. I can almost hear her voice. Her name is Gillian. Gillian from the coroner's office says, look, there is one thing. It doesn't actually point towards death, but there is one thing in the autopsy. And I said, tell me everything. Tell me what that thing is. They said, well, for a 10-year-old boy, your son's brain was unusually large. And that's when I started laughing, because my son would literally say to me, Mum, I have a very big brain. And a part of what he was talking about is he also lived this life with Asperger.
Oh.
So to him, he lived up in his brain. He lived up in his brain, and in his world, he was a famous inventor. So when he was talking about his big brain, I thought he was talking about how fast his brain worked. And I think he was. But also I asked doctors about it afterwards. They said he would have felt some pressure on his skull, because his brain was actually unusually large for the size of his skull. But it wouldn't have been outrageously painful. It was like he was growing into it. But, Sage had a very big brain. So they asked permission to be able to keep Sage's body to do further testing, because they needed to actually work on special testing around the brain, which takes a few weeks. So, of course, I gave permission for this. But then they said to me, you've now gone to the bottom of the line. this isn't going to be an immediate result. You're going to wait at least a year.
Mm.
So I then go into this big life loss journey, having no idea what has happened to my son, knowing that he is gone, which then leads to the other part of your question, which is where I had to lean on what I believed. I believed that the angels won't take you until it's your time. It was obviously Sage's time.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding why, I didn't have that answer immediately, but I had a knowing that actually this was supposed to happen in this way.
Mm.
I don't like it. I don't want it, but it has happened.
Right. Accept what is, surrender to what is. And then you wrote
Surrender.
a book, a series of,
Yeah.
you wrote a book. When was the book published?
The book was published in January 2020.
Okay. And then where are you from? Because I hear the accent. Tell us
Yes.
where you're from.
I was born in Australia, traveled a lot with my family growing up, and also traveled a lot as a young woman. And then after Sage's death, not immediately, a year after Sage's death, I was like, I need a new plan, a new direction, or else I'm just going to be an ungrounded woman forever seeking. And so I chose to move to New York City because, yes, I am Australian, born in Australia, but I'm also American. My mum is American and my dad was Australian. So I whipped out my US passport and I moved myself to New York City, where I lived for more than 7 years before in 2020, I left New York City and moved to the Caribbean, where I now live with my husband on the island of Tobago, where we are actively creating our version of Big Life Magic.
Yes. And you call him the werewolf and that you're the witch. So tell us what that means and why you do that. It's so cute.
Thank you.
I love it.
When I was writing the book, I was still living up in Brooklyn. And my book, A Series of Surrenders, is a memoir. It's a series of stories. It's my story. It's not only about Sage and myself, it's also about the very first man I ever fell in love with. His name is Nick, and he chose to take his own life. And then 7 months later, my father unexpectedly died of a heart attack. So I'm 20, turning 21, and these two really important men in my life are suddenly gone. And I don't know much about the heart, spiritual practice, grief. Like, I'm young. I'm at theatre school. I'm literally at university studying theatre, drinking beer and smoking joints, you know? And anyway, but that's where my grief journey really begins, all the way through to madly falling in love with Sage and being his mother, and then his passing and everything that happened after that. So it took me 5 years before I was ready to write the book, because I was very clear about the fact that I did not want to write the story for the sake of writing the story. I wanted to write the story when I was ready to gift the story to the world, so it could be at service to other hearts. I was really clear about that. And when I got to the 5th year, I was ready to do that.
And is that when you started the grief guide? You were doing that sooner?
That came after. I was really, the thing that was clear was the writing, which brought me to Tobago. So I'm in Brooklyn and I'm writing, and A Series of Surrenders is a memoir, which means it's my memories. So I'm writing in my Brooklyn apartment and I'm feeling these memories sticking to the walls of my bedroom, not being able to get comfortable in the days following. I find myself at the New York Public Library writing and finding that the memories are rolling around those big rooms. And it's also loud and there's a lot of creative energy in these rooms, and I couldn't quite focus. I mean, I tried to really deepen into the writing in New York and I just couldn't. So I surrendered to that and was like, well, I'm going to have to leave the city to get some writing in. And I found myself down here on the island of Tobago. A friend of mine was doing a film project here in Trinidad, Tobago. I was directed to actually come here by a dream. I had a dream where I saw my writing spot, saw the veranda and the water and the fishing boats very clearly. And then I saw that picture via Google the next day. And I was like, well, I guess that's where I'm staying. So I booked myself for 3 weeks on the island of Tobago with the intention of writing. And I did. I wrote a huge part of the book in those 3 weeks, definitely the outline, and started to work within the first couple of parts of the book. Really, it was absolutely delightful and delicious.
Mm.
And unexpected twist in the plot is on the morning of the third day at dawn, I woke early, took my cup of coffee and my journal down to the veranda to overlook the fishing boats and the pelicans and the rising sun. And my now husband was sitting down on the jetty.
Mm.
And as we got to know each other over this time, I was very clear that I was a writer and I was claiming the witch in me. So I decided while I'm in Tobago, I'm just going to introduce myself in that way. Hi, my name is Debra. I'm a writer and a witch. I just thought, let's try it on. Like
Yeah.
I'm 3 weeks old, I'll try it on,
Yeah. Right.
So I was like claiming the writer in me, claiming the witch in me. And then after a few days of connecting and talking and connecting and talking, my husband and I ended up on a cliff overlooking the setting sun and the rising full moon. And we had our first kiss.
Oh.
And he said to me, if you are the witch, then I am the werewolf. And then he howled at the moon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hmm.
How long were you together before you got engaged or got married? Just curious.
So we've been together now for more than 5 years. And we always planned to be together here on the island. But like I think with a lot of people's lives, everything kind of went sideways and fast forward at the same time in 2020
Right.
during the pandemic.
Okay.
Because the first few years of our relationship, I was up in New York living the city girl life. My work was based up there. I didn't have Big Life Magic yet. I wasn't working online yet. Some parts of my business, but a lot of the work I was doing, I literally walked into the room.
Oh,
Spend time up there, I'd spend time down on the island, and we had this kind of mixed life. And then when everyone was sheltering in place during the pandemic and I was alone in Brooklyn, my family was at home in Australia, and the werewolf was down here in Tobago, I sat literally in that Brooklyn apartment and was like, why am I here in this concrete jungle when I want to be with my love by the sea? So I did everything that I could to leave the concrete and make my way to the sea.
wonderful. Beautiful.
Mm.
That's awesome. And you did,
And I
right?
did.
You got
Yeah.
that across. That's great. So tell us about the Big Magic. I know you have a membership too.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the exciting, the fun, all the things. And then I have another question about, did you find some magical moments that showed up after all the things that happened, like that made you like, well, where did you come up with magic? Was it because you declared that you're a witch and you have your werewolf? Is that when the magic appeared? When did the magic start?
Mm.
The idea for it.
Yeah. Excellent question again.
Yeah.
There's a couple of weeks moving it towards now, edging a couple of months after Sage's death. And I'm coping, but not coping. I think I'm okay, but actually I'm not okay. It's that in-between world. And one of my best and dearest friends, a soul sister of mine, who was also Sage's godmother, she and her husband and their family had a holiday house that they rented out, a small little simple house by the sea. And she said to me, maybe you need to go there. You can go there, it's open. If you just need to go there, maybe you need to go there. And I was like, I think I do. I think I need to just remove myself from everything that is happening, all of the stimulus that is happening, and just go and sit by the sea and see what I can see. And so I spent almost a couple of weeks just on my own sitting by the sea, where I would meditate, journal, write, cry, scream. There was a lot uncovered
Feel
in
your
these days.
feelings. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
how you
And
heal.
as I was leaving that little house to walk to the sea one morning, and I'm listening to music, and in my earphones, I hear Claire Bowditch, who is an Australian singer-songwriter. She's amazing. If anyone hasn't heard her music, please check her out, Claire Bowditch. And she's singing into my ears, I will not live a little life. And I heard it so clearly. I was like, that's right. I have no idea where I go from here, what is going to happen next. But I hear you, Claire. I will not be living a little life. No.
Love
And
it.
so that where the little life, big life came in. There
Mhm.
was this seed inside me with, I don't know how I'm going to actually co-create with the universe, make this possible, but I am now committed to, I will live a big life.
Mm.
And then the magic comes from this idea of we're all going to have our own connection to spiritual practice, our own connection to soul or prayer or meditation, whatever it is that you want to call it, whether you pray to a god or the goddesses. In my opinion, it's all perfect.
Yeah.
And it's all your magic. It's whatever your soul chooses in this life. So for me, even though magic to some people can be a divisive word, to me, magic is all encompassing. I believe you own your own magic. Like
Mhm.
for my mother, she is deeply connected to her Catholic faith. That's her magic.
Yeah.
To Mother Mary, making all of the amazing rosary beads that she makes to give to people in the community, to send to people in, different parts of the world. That's my mother's magic.
So like, is it what brings you joy? Is it what you manifest? Is it, or it's to each your
It's,
own, like
yeah, yeah, that is like, if we want to get into the detail of it, like what brings you joy, what you want to manifest, the life that you want, absolutely. But that's like the byproduct of you tapping into your magic.
Mm-hmm.
When we're actually connected to our magic, we are connected to our heart space, and our heart space is connected to our spirit and to our soul. So
Yeah.
using an example, for my mother, she connects to heart space through her Catholic tradition and the religion and the stories and the prayers and the rosary beads. That connects her heart, and she prays up to heaven, which connects her spirit and her soul. That's my mother's magic.
I
For
love
me, my magic is deeply connected to nature. I follow the moon. I very obviously am most aligned when I am by the seaside. I need to be connected to nature in some way, which is hence why did I need to get out of that concrete jungle?
that might be why we immediately connected, because that's for me too. When I'm in nature, which I live in a place where in 5 minutes I can be in nature and I'm in my happy place. I'm in peace.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm just, and yeah, it, even like I was vegetarian for 3 years. I don't know if you are, or vegetarian or any of that, but are you, or no?
No,
No. Okay.
I'm not.
But I wanted to ask you something about water, because I watched one of your videos today and I saw you mention water, and I know water has magic for sure. And
Absolutely.
when I was in Miami in 2021, washing my hands in the bathroom of an Italian restaurant, the final night of the Gina Devi Divine Living event, and I was struggling in Michigan for multiple different reasons, my business, financially. I was washing my hands and I got a divine download that I belong in Florida. That I belong,
Mm.
and my whole life changed. I moved to Florida last year from Michigan my whole life. But and then Michelle Barr, one of my coaches, and she was on the show twice, and she's pretty awesome, PhD, and she's a manifesting queen, and she's like, water's very powerful. And then I had to ask her. So I want to hear what you have to say about water and the power
Mm.
and the energy and the magic.
I mean, as we're having this conversation, the moon is waning, which means letting go of light post the full moon. And when the moon is waning, it's strongly connected to water. So that's why I was talking about it on a video I posted today. But there's water, there's fire, there's earth, and there's air. There are these elements that nurture and support us, and each has a vibration of magic that it's helping us with. So water in particular, I mean, I could talk about all of them, and I do in the magic work that I teach, particularly in relationship to the moon. But let's just focus on the water because it's the question that you asked. So water is connected to your subconscious. It is connected to your heart and your emotions. That is water. That is the water element. So yes, you are going to get like intuitive downloads because of that subconscious.
Mm.
And when it's connected to our emotions, our feeling is how we connect to our intuition. So see how it's all adding up: subconscious, feelings, intuition, very water. I mean, we are mostly water humans.
Yeah,
We're mostly
true. We are. We're made of most water.
if the moon is going to be moving the ocean,
Water.
it's moving you too.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm very
So water is connected to your feelings, your subconscious, your intuition. Water is also the element that you use for purification. So it's a great cleanser. Literally, we shower, we wash our hands. Every morning I'm walking by the sea where I'm literally saying my prayers and doing my mantras and work to clear and cleanse my auric field so I can be ready for the day's work.
Mm.
And water is also the teacher of change. Water can be ice, steam, it can boil, it can be chilly, and it changes. It finds the path of least resistance. Water also teaches us constant consistency. Water can ebb away a big rock.
Right.
Give it some time.
That's exactly what Michelle said on the podcast. She's like, yeah, and that's teaching patience and persistence, strength.
So if another great way to connect to water, I mean, I recommend people connect to water in lots of ways, but I'm also a witch that works with the elements and nature. So of course I'm going to say that. But here's a hot tip for everyone listening. If you have a vision or a dream or an insight and it's connected to water, ask yourself, what was the quality of the water? If you're like overlooking a beautiful clear lake, and I'm not talking about a real lake, I'm talking about in a vision or a dream or an insight, you see it in a meditation. If you're looking over a very beautiful, clear, calm lake, it's telling you that's clear and cleansed, it's calm, this thought is balanced. Whereas in a different vision, if you're at the seaside and there's a storm raging over the sea and the waves are crashing in, that's telling you that your emotions are like a bit turbulent, something's going down. Or maybe you're in a swamp and you can't see the bottom of the water. That's where maybe your feelings are not actually able to guide you right now because you can't see clearly through what you feel. So I say this to give everyone an example of how you can begin to work with these elements to bring insight into your earthbound, we are here humans, this is our reality now experience. How can the moon or the elements or even the cardinal directions or any of these other tools that we use in the magic realm, how can they actually support you? And you don't have to give your life to magic. You can be somebody who's like, I'm an interior designer and I want to make beautiful things. Excellent. That's excellent. And magic can help you.
That's incredible. I love it. So how could it help the interior designer?
I think magic is available to everybody for self-care. Like we look after our physical bodies. For some people, they have a coach or a therapist for their mind and their heart. What about your spiritual self-care? What about some space to turn up where you get to actually be in your feelings, in your intuition, in your desires and what you want to manifest? So it's about spiritual self-care. It's also about tuning into that huge part of ourselves, which we don't always give enough attention, space, or light to, which some people call your sixth sense or your intuition or your knowing, your gut knowing, or
Your inner
your
guide.
through. And so you can develop that. You can learn to trust it. You can learn to have a dialogue with yourself, your higher self, with the universe. And the thing that happens when we begin to bring in spiritual self-care, things get more fun. There's
Yeah.
more play. There's
Yeah.
more possibility, which is why I created the Big Life Magic Makers, the community that brings me an amazing amount of joy, because we all learn from each other. We all have experiences to share. And when you come together with like-minded, like vibration souls, all earthbound, trying to figure it out,
Magic happens. Big magic happens.
magic happens.
Yeah.
People are expanding and supporting and encouraging each other.
And the connection and the collaboration and
Yes.
it's such powerful community.
Yeah.
Community. Yeah. Can you touch on the fire and air briefly?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're just a new kind of, like, I love all of these things and you're just saying a lot of new things, but I will just share that I love baths. And earlier today, I was having some negative feelings and I'm working through some things that, this came into my mind and I took a shower, took a bath with roses. I just recently learned I put rose petals. Well, first I stayed away from the phone, sat down in meditation, played with my dog, then took the shower, then did the bath with the flowers, and I'm a new person now. So it's like complete.
Yeah. And that is spiritual self-care right there. And adding in ritual. Like, not everyone's going to call it ritual, but that's what it is. Taking the time to sit and meditate and be. Choose to do something that makes you feel good. Be with your dog. Choose to cleanse by the shower. Choose to actually soak in the water with the rose. That is a 4-part ritual.
Yeah.
Ritual is essentially something that you do that is repeatable and it makes you feel better.
It does. Yeah, I love it. And then
Yeah.
lastly, when I meditate lately, I see myself walking on the beach and I'm in a
Yeah.
white dress and it's constant. That's what I visualize. So I just had to share that. But can you touch on the fire and air quickly? Is it the 3, water, fire, and air? Was there a 4th
Four.
one?
There's 4. So
Oh,
they've already
earth.
worked through water. We've got fire, earth, and air.
Yeah.
So fire is the element that can both create and destroy. So fire can burn away what we do not want in our way. Fire is a very powerful element to use when you're in wanting to break bonds, cut cords, start a new chapter in your life. There's some amazing work you can do with fire. Fire is also connected to our soul. And fire can also create.
Yeah. How so?
Literally, well,
Yeah.
you put the fire underneath the pot, and then the pot boils, and then you've made dinner. It's that same idea of, like, you put the fire in to bring the warmth, to bring the energy.
The
Like
soul,
in
like when you're driven, right? When you get an idea.
yeah, when like the fire in the, how people say, I've got the fire in the belly. Like, I'm ready to go. It's passion, it's ambition, I'm going to go for it. That's fire energy. So it can be harnessed to help you create, and it can also be channeled to help you to destroy. So
Like
that's fire.
like journaling out something and getting it on paper and then burning it.
Absolutely.
Like the
That's, yeah,
powerful.
one way of doing a fire ritual. Absolutely. Yeah. Then earth is connected to our physical bodies. Earth is about grounding to earth. Where is my safety? Where is my security? Where is my nurture? And earth is not only going to teach us about grounding, Earth is also going to teach us about how we actually care for ourselves in that very real physical way. Earth element is the supportive element to, yeah, you may be a spiritual being, but hey, now, right now, you're earthbound. So how are you going to look after yourself in that? And earth is where we can also plant new seeds, where we can turn and toil the soil, where, you know, where we can put the fertilizer, where we can grow the beautiful rose that we
I'm
want.
immediately thinking money when you talked about earth, because
Yeah.
it's like taking care of your finances and, you
Yeah.
know, getting that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's connected to our physical body. It's connected to the new moon phase. It really is. How are you caring for yourself? Because Earth, Mother Earth supports us. The earth element supports us.
Literally, literally, because we're standing
Yeah,
on. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And then the air element is all about communication and change and adaptability. And it's all about our mental processing, how we think. So if you're thinking of working with affirmations, that is working with the air element. The air element's connected with the waxing moon phase. And the air element is all about, well, look, things can change quickly. The change in the wind, the sudden breeze that then pulls up a tornado, like all of that, like air can move very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's all about communication, and not only about communication with others, but how are you communicating with yourself?
Yeah, so good, so good.
Well, I mean, I've been working in spiritual practice and fascinated with all of the different modalities and ways that you can connect to nature and magic, like for many, many years now.
Mm-hmm.
The work I do, like this work around the elements, a lot of that work came in my exploration of how can I expand my understanding of working with the moon. One of my real key anchors in my work in magic is the moon. And I'm strongly connected to the moon because as an earthbound, you know, magic weaver, the moon is always there.
So
She's always up in the sky.
so is the sun, though. I feel connected to the sun, but go ahead.
And the moon, the way that the moon can work with us in terms of our magic and our manifesting is the moon shows us the power in ritual, consistency, and repeating. The moon does the same thing every lunar cycle, goes from new to waxing to full to waning. And then the moon does it again. Each of those phases of the moon has a different quality that it's bringing out in us. And each phase of the moon is connected to not only an element, but also a cardinal direction. So let me give you an example. New moon, which we have coming up soon. So as I said only moments ago, we're currently at waning moon. And when we reach new moon, if we're going to really harness the magic of a new moon, we are working with new moon energy, which is around being still, quiet, and looking within. Not much light in the sky. It's asking us to look within. New moon energy. It's also asking us to set, you know, begin again, set a new intention. So that's new moon energy, supported by the earth element, which literally says, how are you supporting yourself? What seeds are you planting now? It's also connected to our physical body. How are you caring for yourself? What are you eating? How are you moving? How are you sleeping? It's also connected to the element of north. And north in a cardinal direction, when we're working with directions, the north cardinal direction asks us to connect with our truth. So when you add all of that together, those 4 elements of the magic together for the new moon, you get the potent recipe to really harness, align, and activate your new moon magic.
Wow.
So that's how I began to find out, because I was curious. about new moon, and I was curious about the elements, and I was curious about, well, some people talk about these different directions. What does that mean? You know, like, and so it's just years of curiosity, years of learning from other teachers, years from reading the books, years from trying things myself. And then, you know, I arrive at, you know, like, one of the offerings I have with Big Life Magic is called Moon Magic Transformation. And it's a full program where you go through all 4 phases and all of the magic of each phase. So as I just shared in New Moon, we explore New Moon, we explore North, we explore what physical body means, and we explore the earth element. Then we move to waxing, and then waxing is different. And then, because I was like, there's so much goodness in this. Let me share it all with people. So if you're working on a transformation, something you actually really want to change in your life, you're ready to shift something, then something like the Moon Magic Transformation Program is the magical golden ticket, because it really is deep layered.
That's what I was going to ask, is like, are you helping people with, you know, all the different things people have worked on, and like money, and like, so your Moon Magic course kind of covers all the things, because it's whatever your internal, whatever you truly want to change, it helps with that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's not the membership. The membership's separate. This is a program. It's how long is the Moon Magic one?
It's the 4 phases of the moon. So you follow it from new moon, waxing moon, full moon, waning moon. And also all of the members in my program, we have done this program together. And anyone who becomes a member, you automatically get access, lifetime access to the Moon Magic program.
Oh, you're kidding. That's amazing. That's a
So
nice.
inside the membership, there's a whole library of magic masterclasses and programs and different activations and challenges that we've had. There's a whole library.
Oh, wow.
And as
Okay.
soon as you become a member, you get the key to the library.
Oh, that's neat. I love it. I love it. So I have to ask, have you looked into, and are you aware of human design? Because you're talking about, okay. Yeah.
I have. A while ago, I chose to, you know, have a human design reading, and I found it really interesting, really curious. Really loved the woman who did my human design for me. Found some really beautiful threads in there, and also found, as I found with, you know, quite a few other modalities, it's like, it's so interesting, and I'm so happy that somebody else is specializing in it.
Yeah, right. It's a
You
lot.
know, because I can't do, like, if I was to let myself like roam the magical playground, I would pick up every modality and try to work with it, because I think they're all fascinating. I think they're all amazing.
Yeah.
Just have noticed in myself, it's more valuable for me to stay in my area of the magical playground and deepen what I know there.
Exactly.
So for me, that's working with the moon, our energetic heart, our soul's journey. I read oracle cards. I work in meditation. I help people support themselves with ritual transformation programs. And that is really more than enough.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's great. I didn't know you did the oracle cards. That's awesome. Yeah, I just got I'm a generator in the human design.
Mhm.
What are you?
I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay, yeah. And I didn't get a reading. I just bought a couple things that kind of tell you about the generator in my profile. And yeah, I did not get an actual reading, but it's your manifesting generator. I don't know a lot about it, but it was so fascinating, because I know it's just for people who don't know what it is. It's like astrology times 10,000 or something. It's just very
I
detailed.
mean, it's looking at like the patterns of how you turn up as a human.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to bring you alive? What do you need? What are you going to be drawn towards?
Yeah.
It's deeply interesting.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I love it. So yeah, it's stuff that really resonated. So is there anything else you would like to share?
What I'd like to share about that in terms of understanding grief, this is something that I really want everyone in the world to know this. Grief is not about the thing that happened. Grief is about your heart. Grief is about how your heart is affected. If your heart feels broken, if your heart feels torn, if your heart feels heavy, if your heart is missing someone, that is grief.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody died, or maybe there's just, you know, like you shared, there's an estrangement. You're not connected to somebody anymore. You know that they may or may not be walking the earth, but they're not in your life anymore.
Right. At any level. Yeah. And there's a lot of different things around it, but it does hurt because you've heard of the book, The Four Agreements, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And never to take things personal. Do you believe that?
Well, the thing, I mean, yes, and let me answer it in this way. I believe the theory of that. And let's also be real, we're human. We're human with human hearts. Like, I don't believe in going to the higher, mighty of it all. And a lot of the time when people are trying to do that, it's spiritual bypassing. I'm calling BS on that.
Yeah. You can't always be happy, even if you,
And you're not meant to be. That's not the point.
yeah.
Like, they're not taking it personally. You can see it in this way. Everyone here is learning their lessons, learning through love, learning through their heart, learning through what their soul contracts are. So sometimes what somebody's doing is actually, it is about them, not about you. And you're
So
allowed to be affected. You're allowed to say, that actually still hurts.
exactly.
And I can do my water ritual to separate and purify from that. I can separate from that. I can take a beautiful bath with the rose petals, and I can allow all of my feelings of how horrible that feels and how sad that makes me feel seep into the water. And then when I get out of the bath and pull the plug, all of that energy is going to go down the drain. That's something you can do.
Yeah.
That's it personally, because it is affecting us as humans. It is affecting you. The
Yeah.
theory is absolutely, maybe it's got nothing to do with you, but I don't believe in not being grounded and real in what is actually happening to the human self, because we need as much care for the human self as attention to the spiritual practice, as attention to the higher light and love. We want to balance both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Do you follow Gabby Bernstein by chance?
A little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah. Yeah, she's been a big spiritual teacher of mine. I definitely look up to her. I went to see her live a few weeks ago, so that was really, really powerful. And yeah, so I just asked because I think she's helping a lot of people, with everything. So what's in the future for you? I know you have your big life magic and everything you're doing is so much, but do you see any expansion or any change coming forward in the new
Yes,
moon?
absolutely. Coming up in my life in the Big Life Magic world and community, the Big Life Magic Makers is continuing to expand. I'm adding more layers. So there's going to be some magic mastery within the membership. There's always more being added to the library. So that's always there as like a constant heartbeat for me and the work. But what I'm really excited about, this summer, I begin writing book number 2. Second book is called Surrendering to Magic, and it's going to be exploring this pathway from big life loss to big life magic, the connection between our energetic heart and our soul. And it's going to be memoir plus a little bit of the how-to. So it's going to be a hybrid memoir. So I'm really excited this summer to begin writing that.
Incredible.
And the other thing that is expanding in our world, The Werewolf and I, last January, we had our first pilot run of a new part of our business called Island Magic, which is retreats here on the island of Tobago with the magic of Deb the witch and my husband the werewolf. And it's working with people here on the island, helping them to activate magic. So the next one is actually happening in January. And the ones that happen in January are always about the first new moon of the new year and setting your intentions for the year. So we're recording this now in June, which means we're already starting to plan the January retreat.
Are these live in-person retreats?
Yeah, everyone flies onto the island for a week, and we spend a week together in an amazing, beautiful villa. There's beautiful food, there's island activities on the boat, on the beach, up in the villa. Every day I'm doing magic activations. Every day we're eating gorgeous food and singing and listening to music. It's fun. It's
That's
really
awesome.
fun.
Is the link on your website?
We're
Okay.
just creating it now. It will be. It
Yeah,
absolutely will be. Yeah, everything you want to find is at biglifemagic.com, whether that be the membership, whether it be connection to working with me, whether that be my book, A Series of Surrenders. It really is the home, biglifemagic.com,
that's
as well as YouTube channel is also a place if you're just interested in a little bit of how I speak about heart repair or the moon. You're going to find all of that on the YouTube channel.
that's incredible. Oh, I love it. I love it. So powerful, so much fun. Such
Mm-hmm.
a way to transition from those 4Ds and just choose the big life versus living a small life. Like, I just love it. It's just a powerful message to everyone, and it's available to everyone.
That's right. And it's a choice. And absolutely, you have to activate that choice. And that's not always the easiest part. But
Right.
that's the fun part about being earthbound and being human.
Yeah.
We choose.
Yeah. My son always says it's supposed to be fun. Like, he says, what does he say? He says, like, not to be so serious, and like, he's so right. It's like so right.
Mm.
You know, I forget what else he says, but it's just like, yeah, like we need to just relax and have more fun and, like just trust.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you something real quick. I was yesterday, because I've been meditating more and more and more, and I light candles. And yesterday I said a prayer out
Mm.
loud, dear God. And I said my prayer, the candle was lit. And like, was it later that day that it came true? And
Mm.
I was like, when you were talking today in our conversation and you said how the power of fire, I was like, I wonder if that had to do with the prayer being answered. And I know
Yeah.
that in the Jewish faith, the rabbi always would talk about how I actually have a candle right here about
Mm.
how have you ever heard this where the flame of a candle is like the soul? He describes it. You can take the candle and light another candle and the
Yeah.
candle's still lit in that analogy. And that's how we can give and share and do for others and then still be lit, not, it doesn't
Yeah.
take away is what
Yeah.
it
Yeah. You don't have to blow out someone else's candle in order for yours to burn bright.
right. And you
You
can light other people's
can light other people's
and
candles.
still
Boom.
be right. So yeah, I just love that. But yeah, did you you were shaking your head yes when I said I was praying with the candle.
The thing to know about whether it's working with fire or water or any of the magical elements, literally the elements, or whether you're working with affirmation or meditation, it's all about intention because you're magical and you had intention. You were like, I'm going to create this for myself. I'm going to create this special magical place for myself where I ritualistic light my candles. I know this is my meditation time. I'm going to deepen this now by actually going into the magic of my words and putting my intention out into the world of what I want. Where is my desire? What do I want to create? Where do I want to be met today?
Yeah.
All of that is working with fire. It's working with intention. It's working with calling in your higher I am presence. It's working with creating ritual. Look at all that magic that you just did.
Yeah.
Look how magical you are.
Yeah.
See? Everyone's magical.
Yeah, I love that word. I usually say powerful, but magical I love. It's so fun. I love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share about your websites or anything? Your
No,
book?
yeah. Yes, A Series of Surrenders, A Memoir of Grief is available as print book, ebook, or since November last year, the audiobook version. If you want to hear me read the story, you can go to Audible and find the audiobook version, A Series of Surrenders. You can find that via my website, or you can just go direct to Audible.
Okay.
And I just want to just share with everybody, just try it for a day. For a day, just walk around and believe that you are the magic. It's not out there. It doesn't belong to somebody else. You are the magic. Just for a day, give it a go and see what it feels like. And if it feels good, do it again.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, so good, so good. Great advice. Beautiful conversation. We're going to put all your links in the show notes, but biglifemagic.com is where they can find you and everything. And
Yes.
such a beautiful person you are.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's been listening to this beautiful conversation between Linda and myself.
Absolutely. Thank you.